Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Joe Buskins. This is our family's boat shop, and behind me I have our current 21-foot Blazer center console project boat. And we have a episode previous to this one, kind of an introduction, but I wanted to show you folks what we've done so far. This is kind of going to be a step-by-step series. I imagine there's going to be a lot of videos documenting the build, but we've just got up inside and we've pulled out the bow deck, and the owner of this boat previously had already started this project, so they had cut it out. But when we received the boat, there was just all kind of miscellaneous parts, as well as other hatches and seat components. And we went ahead and pulled the console out, and we've just got in the boat and made a point of just kind of assessing what is going on with this thing. So if y'all want to follow me, let's get back up in this thing. We've also got all kind of hardware that was up in this boat. You can see there's glove box lids and fuel filters and miscellaneous hardware. And we just found a nice container of some kind to put that in. And I find that doing that while you're taking the boat apart, keeping everything grouped together, don't throw stuff around, try to keep it in some kind of form or order so that when you get ready to put it back together, you know where to find everything. So let's step up in this boat, and what I want to do is show you guys some of the work we've done, some of the stuff that we're working on, some of the tools I like to use as well. So we've got some demolition tools are going to kind of be the thing when you're doing this kind of project. Now again, the owner of this boat has already done some demolition, but if you're going to replace a floor, in a lot of cases, we're going to want to go right back to the hull, and you need to do that surgically. Now, this is a little oscillating tool with a carbide, almost like a ceramic tile bit on there. I believe that might be some diamond abrasive, and these work really good for coming in and little fine detail work. Then one of your major tools for a restoration project like this would be a Sawzall with a good long blade. I kind of tend to prefer them when we're doing stringer removal. So that may come later. Now, this is a tool. You got a little high-speed grinder and another like a diamond masonry blade on there. Now, we have removed the guard, and obviously when you're working with this kind of stuff, you'd want to wear plenty of safety equipment. But this is a great little tool for coming in and sectioning out pieces. And your boat builder's friend right here is going to be your high-speed grinder with an aggressive sanding disc on there. Now, stating the obvious, and I know we've talked about PPE or safety gear before, but 3M makes an awesome full-face respirator that you've got obviously protection from dust, and you got eye protection, and you need to wear these in conjunction with a good Tyvek suit, especially the ones with a hood on it. The ones with the hood will actually seal around the gasket. So once this is on your face, pull the hood up and you are hermetically sealed inside of a capsule, because boat work is going to be dusty, it's going to be nasty. Now, one of the things that we use all the time in our family shop, if you're going to be doing this, would be a really good high quality vacuum cleaner. And we went ahead and we actually just bought a new one. That is going to be a 16 gallon, and it's one of the higher horsepower ones. And we've added an extra length of hose to this thing so that we can leave the vacuum on the floor and you can reach up in here. Now, a lot of times what we do is we will use this long hose, and I may be up in here with a cutting tool, and if you've got a helper or a friend that can just hold the vacuum, and you can catch probably 90 to 95% of the dust that these tools are going to make. And yes, I know they make some really, really nice high-end tools with the vacuum attachments, but I also know a lot of you folks out there are DIYers, and some of those specialty tools can be well over $1,000 for those, whereas a couple $100 for a really heavy-duty vacuum. And then you got your tools that we source a lot of these, again, for the DIY folks, Lowe's and Home Depot. You don't have to necessarily have crazy exotic tools. Now, I know I got some of you guys out there that are professionals, and obviously you know where to source some of this high-end stuff. But again, most of the folks watching this are going to be DIYers. So you can see now, we've got the foam that they put in this boat. Obviously it doesn't come all the way up to the floor. So we may, when we come back in here, we may do something better than that. Now, we don't have a foam injection gun or a spray gun. And I can kind of tell by the way this is textured and the way this foam looks that this was actually sprayed in there with some kind of a machine that's made to dispense foam. Most folks are going to be using like A and B, like a pour foam of some kind. And even for our family, the shop that we have, we don't do this in a volume that would require that expensive specialty equipment. So just a good A and B pour foam is what we're going to be using. And we've made progress other than just pulling all the stuff out of there and seeing what we've got under the floor, which is what a lot of you folks would be doing when you get a project boat, is you're just trying to gain access and see what's going on beneath the floor. Because this boat definitely had a soft floor, but you don't know for a fact that the stringers are going to be bad until you pull the floor up. And for me, it's hard for me to fully assess right now if the stringers are bad or if just parts of them may be bad. But we have found another component of the boat that is for sure not going to work, and that's going to be the transom. This boat, it appears, if you guys look back in here, it appears that there was a fire or some high temperature of some kind, and you can see some scorching and black material. Now, when we're looking at this transom too, you can also see where these bracket bolts are. There are stress cracks around there, and you can see that bolt head is actually sunk in a bit. That is not what you want to see if you're looking to purchase a boat. You do not want to see those bolts sunken in. And in here, you can hear that there is a very hollow sound, and a lot of times we will use something metallic to test it. If you've got good solid transom material like up here, it's got a very sharp versus that tells me that the glass is delaminated from the wood, and the main reason for that would be that the wood is rotten. So we've got our work cut out for us. We've also got a very old fuel tank. Now this is a plastic fuel tank, which is very common, and a lot of companies make them, especially down here in salt water. I don't have a problem with plastic fuel tanks at all. The dilemma is when you're rebuilding a boat, sometimes it can be tricky to find an exact replacement. Some of these companies will make these fuel tanks in certain numbers or runs, and if it's an older boat, that fuel tank may not be available anymore. And in that case, you would go with a custom-made aluminum one, and we may have to do that. But you can see we got old fittings there, and when I step on the tank, there's hissing and movement. There was some gas. There it is. You can see. Yeah, that's no bueno, folks. That's not a good thing. So we definitely got fuel tank issues as well. And we're still debating whether we want to cut out these back sections here and maybe do a full deck across with some kind of a splash well. Maybe you folks at home can tell me what you would like to see. I know we've been getting some really positive feedback from everybody on how we're going to do this. Now, what we've done though is we went ahead and took the liberties of loosening the boat or the motor from the bracket there in the back. And I wanted to show you folks again, sometimes when you're taking this stuff apart and you don't have a bunch of exotic tools, using your brain and finding something that's readily available. I've got a little length of stainless steel handrail tubing, and you can take that and slip it right over the handle of a 1/2-inch drive socket, and it gives you a lot more leverage and power. And some of these bolts back here at the back were stuck pretty bad, and so we went ahead and we treated those bolts with something like WD-40 or a penetrating oil. And another trick you can do sometimes is actually use a little small propane torch and heat the surrounding area around the bolt, and that'll help that bolt come out. But be careful for flammable liquids. Obviously gasoline and an open flame do not mix. But you would not believe how much help this would be if you just got a standard 1/2-inch socket and adding, we call it a breaker bar when I was growing up, or a cheater bar, and that's just gonna give you a ton more leverage. We are gonna go ahead and pull this motor away from the boat. We haven't decided if we're gonna stick with the 2-stroke or go with the 200 horse 4-stroke Suzuki yet. So don't worry, folks. We've been getting a lot of votes for the 2-stroke motor, but we're just gonna pull it away from the boat. And I wanna show everyone, we've got a pretty cool apparatus for taking this motor off. And it's something my dad, who was a very handy guy, he built this shop and he built a lot of boats and he built a lot of equipment. He built this really neat hoist. We've just got a boat winch on there. He's got some caster wheels on the bottom, and Dad was really, really good at fabricating stuff like this where you can hook on. Now, we use it a lot for moving barrels of resin around as well. You can pick up engine blocks or generators, or in this case, an outboard motor. Now, obviously, we went ahead and we've pulled all the cables. We've de-rigged this boat, got everything loose. I went ahead and backed out all the nuts and washers off of the boat. And this thing should, with a few wiggles and tugs, there it is. All right, she is free. You can see this is a deal that one man or woman could do. Want to be sure to include everybody out there. I know we got some guys and gals doing this kind of work and want everybody to be included in the process. But yeah, just that easy. We've got the motor pulled off the transom, because if you're doing a transom replacement or a transom repair, you're gonna wanna pull that motor off of there if you can. Now, you could use an old-timey chain fault if you've got a matter of fact, you talk about shade tree mechanics. If you've got a big oak tree somewhere with a big sizable limb, I've seen folks use one of those. Or if you look in our shop overhead, sometimes we will just wrap a piece of chain around one of the beams and then drop it down a bit, and you can hook a chain hoist on there, and that will allow you to pick up one of these motors. Or some of you folks out there that know how to fabricate, my dad was, again, really good at just rounding up material that was kind of left over from another job or something he salvaged. And basically, he made this thing wide enough that he could get around a 55-gallon drum of material. You got just a little boat trailer winch and a little boom here. The only thing I might recommend is if we were to build another one, maybe build it slightly taller. I'm right around 6 feet tall or so that's about 6.5 feet. One at about 7 foot would be awfully nice. Occasionally we get a little bit bigger boat. You need a little more vertical clearance to get this thing up and out of the way. So that is the update, everyone. I've got other things going on right now. Our charter business is starting to pick up because the weather is warming. We're also going to be starting building a fiberglass hardtop and the mold and the plug to build that hardtop for our 29 that a lot of you guys have seen us in the build series, where we got over 25 videos documenting that build. And I'm going to be visiting my brother Mark this afternoon down at the boat yard, where he is currently working on a 42-foot sailboat and going to be bottom painting and repainting the hulls with a top coat and a lot of other stuff. So we've got lots of content coming y'all's way. Now, I want everyone to know how much we appreciate everybody tuning into the channel. It means a ton to me. You guys, your support, we couldn't do this without everybody tuning in here on YouTube. So as always, it's Captain Joe here with Island Marine Charters, my fantastic cameraman working hard behind the scenes. And as always, we will catch you guys next time out.